Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace and blessings. I'm Sister Sajdah. Pardon my appearance. I've been actually on the plane all day, and I just thought that I would jump out here and talk a little bit about Martin Luther King Day. I was trying to post the video of the broadcast that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did on his desire to meet with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And then, they keep taking it down off Instagram, but it's on my YouTube page. Let me put the link here because I want you all to go and check it out. Let's see, I should be. Okay, so I just pinned it here. So if they take it down from IG, you can go to YouTube and look at it. I'm not sure if they took it down from Instagram or Facebook yet, but right now it's still up on YouTube. So welcome. Shout out to my mother. She also shares a birthday with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. His birthday is actually January 15th, for those of you who don't know. Welcome. Wa alaikum salam. I see you all. Come on in the room. Peace and blessings, family. Excuse my appearance. I got off the plane and I wanted to come and I wanted to post that video. So go and study. If Instagram takes it down, I'm going to repeat that again. I posted a video of the broadcast that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did regarding his desire to meet with Dr. Martin Luther King. And he speaks in that presentation extensively about qualifying us to lead or to be accepted as global leaders. I'm paraphrasing. And I think it's worth a study because you all hear me talk a lot on the show about how I'm shuffling some papers around here because I got a couple things I want to go over with you guys. You hear me talk on the show a lot about how pop culture, I'm calling it pop culture because that's what it's developed into. Pop culture actually makes us pick sides. Okay? So pop culture says you're either with Tupac or Biggie, or you're with Malcolm or Martin. And it takes away our ability to really study that other side because then they start to attach image and rewards to each side. And so it takes away our ability to really study and go deeper into the philosophies of our great historic leaders and people in our midst, because they immediately tell us you got to pick a side. And I think it's unfortunate that we continue to fall into this type of linear thinking. It's sad because one of the things that I'm always pushing us to do is to develop our own personal operating platform. Now, for those of you who are Muslim members, followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, check my t-shirt out, my sweatshirt. Those of us who are already there, we accept a certain body of knowledge. But for those of you who are saying, you know what, I picked this other side because of the stigma attached to y'all's side, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Because for us, and this is not meant to be an offensive conversation, the desire here is to open us up. For us, we've watched our leader go into churches and unite with the Christian community, various different factions of the Christian community. We watch him unite with Pan-Africanists and people from other cultures. So I think the permission on our side, the proverbial permission on our side to be free, to study and to learn and to support what we know through our knowledge and our experiences is already there. Because there's not necessarily a stigma attached to not doing so. But what I think happens oftentimes to our family members who say, well, I've chosen this other side, okay, is that you miss the wisdom that's on all sides. Because what happens is we get into this thing of trying to prove and push our agenda. Prove, look, I chose the Martin side, so let me prove this. When really, in actuality, our challenge here in Black America is very multifactorial. Okay, it has a lot of different facets to it, a lot of different approaches, a lot of different solutions, and all the pieces of those puzzles are necessary. You see, two things can be right at the same time, just like two things can be wrong at the same time. So I encourage you to develop your own personal operating platform, okay, where you learn how to pick up information, study it, and extract the truth. As we move into this world, we're moving fastly into a situation where we have such a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots. And I'm not just talking about financial. I'm talking about wisdom and knowledge and how you move. But if you want to start moving like a God, you have to learn how to extract. You have to learn how to recognize and then extract truth no matter where you see it. That's why projects like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum are so important. Okay, it's extremely important because I'm gonna put this link back here. I thought I had pinned it, but I want you to. This is the link of the video that I want you guys to check out. We're gonna pin it again. Okay, just in case they take it down here. Anyway, let me get into this a little bit real quick. It's not gonna be long, but I want you to support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. Somebody type that in the chat for me. Support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum and the preservation of our history. Go to sajdahhouse.com, order your commemorative Elijah coin. You can donate right now via Cash App. That's $Mo Today, MOETODAY. But I really want you to get these commemorative Elijah coins because I want you to be a part of this project. This is a living museum. I want you to be part of the ongoing development of the project and the sharing of knowledge that, inshallah, will be part of what's so significant and unique about this living museum. Yes, it's a living museum. Okay, so thank you, sis, for putting that in. Support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. Order your commemorative Elijah coin. The links are all over here in this page. If you're following this page, if you're looking at this page, the links are all over. Thank you, Sister Aletha. So make sure you go there. And those of you who are going to be in Chicago for Savior's Day, we're going to be doing something special, but you're going to have to be in our coin database to even receive an invitation. I really believe that when the museum opens, just like the Museum of African American History did the same thing, we'll probably have a 2-year waiting list. So we have to find a way to discern, who comes at the beginning, because the house is only but so big. It's a big house, but we can't take everybody. And if you see the amount of emails and requests of people who want to come and attend, especially a lot of people who don't look like us. Listen, this weekend, I went to the Angela Davis exhibit at the city of Oakland, California, Historic Museum. The exhibit was crowded. They had a lot of artifacts on Angela Davis, very, very beautifully curated. And they had some lectures of her playing. Some of the FBI files were there on exhibit. And let me tell you something. It was crowded, and the majority of the people that were there did not look like us. And I'm saying to you, and it helped me to bear witness to what I'm experiencing, is that a lot of people in other cultures want to learn. And it's time for us to make sure that we're in the forefront of that learning. Okay? And so I just found it interesting because as we're walking around the exhibit, it was hard to even get up to some of the photos and some of the artifacts to take a look at them because so many people were in there, and there were people from all walks of life, and there may have been a handful, maybe a handful of Black people that were there at that. It was a very powerful exhibit on the history of the Black Panthers, very robust and well laid out, really just really helping you get into the mind of them. So anyway, make sure you support that. I put the link here. I pinned it because there is a video that I posted. I tried to post it here on Instagram. They kept taking it down, but I posted it on YouTube. The link is there. And the video is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's broadcast on his desire to meet with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And he goes in depth into the importance of not just trying to bust our way into situations or picket our way into situations, but to qualify ourselves to lead. So very interesting. So I wanted to just share a few things with you because I've done some extensive studying in my life on Martin Luther King Jr. When I was in high school, my mom used to buy me tapes and speeches, and I even have some albums of speeches of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I studied it so much so that during my junior and senior year, when I began to write and enter essay contests for scholarship money and things like that, I won 4 or 5 times on my essays on Dr. Martin Luther King. And it's interesting because in studying Dr. King, and I also grew up Catholic, and I studied Catholicism a lot and had a real big running list in my head of things that didn't make any sense to me and the injustices that I saw in the religion. But I was just going there because my family was Catholic, right? So when I was invited to hear the teachings, the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it was very interesting because from that study, from studying Catholicism, from studying Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, I immediately understood the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to the extent that I could. I'm not saying that I'm a scholar. I'm far from it. But I got it. There was something in me. There was a light bulb. Something clicked. And I said, I got it. I got it. And he lives. And then even as they started talking about Master Fard Muhammad, Allah in person, we started talking about the messenger of Allah, we started talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I saw them and I got it through the biblical lens, not even the biblical lens, because in the Catholic Church, we didn't even read the Bible, but through the lens of the catechism, I guess you could say. I saw these great teachings and these great people that were being shared with me as I sat there in the audience that day. So it was very, very powerful. And then I started kind of bumping that up against my understanding of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. What I saw through my studies is what I felt like was some of the shortfalls, but I wasn't familiar with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, so I didn't have that as a basis of comparison until I came in the nation. Okay. So let me tell you some speeches. There's a few things I want to read to you today. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the theme of this conversation is this video that I have pinned here. He expressed a desire and spoke extensively on that broadcast about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And let me say this. When we talk about this living museum, inshallah, this time next year, during his birth anniversary, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum will be open, and we will have roundtable discussions on their conversations, hint, hint, and conversations about the approaches to the freedom and the resurrection of our people. So that's what I mean by a living museum, in terms of really diving into some of this information. But I was just going down the list of some of the different speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King, because everything that I see posted is like so vanity and is so cute, and I don't know how many people are really digging into his work, because I know people haven't dug into the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's work. I mean, people are asking me stuff like, why are you talking about economic development if you're talking about Elijah Muhammad? That's how out of it people are in terms of not even understanding that as a component. So welcome, come on into the chat. Welcome, welcome. You all can go back and listen to this later, but let me read some of these titles. On February 28th, 1954, in Detroit, Michigan, he did a lecture on rediscovering lost values. Interesting lecture. December 5th, 1955, Dr. Martin Luther King talked about, let's see, we'll skip that one. There's no. This one in 1956, November 11th, Paul's letter to American Christians. That was in Montgomery, Alabama. Then there was the birth of a new nation. Then there was give us the ballot. Then there was loving your enemies. Then there was address of the Freedom Hall rally. Then there was the I Have a Dream speech in 1963. Then there was the eulogy of the young victims of the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing in Birmingham, Alabama. Then there was his Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech in 1964. Why am I giving you these titles? Because when this stuff is categorized like this, and I'll post some of these titles, it allows you to be able to do what I call nonlinear thinking. Think more mathematically, do some comparison and analysis. You'll be able to say, okay, Martin Luther King did a speech in 1957 called Give Us the Ballot. But then we also know that Malcolm X did a speech called The Ballot or The Bullet. So you can take these titles and go and find whatever philosophy that's out there and use it as a comparison and analysis, and then you can extract what you think will work. This can't just be theory. Okay, then in 1965, he did a speech called The American Dream at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. And then he did a speech, this one is a good one, it's called Guidelines for a Constructive Church. And then, interestingly enough, he received a letter July 6, 1966, and met with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I'm going to read that letter, and I'm going to read you some of these other letters that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his staff penned to Dr. Martin Luther King. But it's interesting because his topic sort of changed after that. In 1967, he talked about Beyond Vietnam, a time to break silence at Riverside Church in New York City. He then talked about the 3 dimensions of a complete life at the New Covenant Baptist Church. And if you notice, his speeches became more tactical and more instructional after his meeting with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is always teaching us a way of life, behavioral patterns, mental patterns and strategies and belief systems and knowledge that will allow us to move differently, line up with our inheritance, right? And qualify us for leadership and representation. And I think prior to the meeting with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, many of Dr. King's speeches, although brilliant, were very theoretical. And so now you start talking about, when I read some of these others, you see he's becoming a little more tactical, a little more Tactical. That's the right word. Giving people specific instructions. So there was Beyond Vietnam, a time to break silence. Then there was the 3 dimensions of a complete life at New Covenant Baptist Church in Chicago. That speech right there is interesting. I suggest you all look that one up. Then he was in Atlanta, Georgia on August 16th, 1967, and he penned a speech called Where Do We Go From Here? Again, his speeches began to have movement in them. Not theory, but movement. Okay. Then in 1967, August 27th, he said, why Jesus called a man a fool. That's interesting, right? That was in Chicago as well. Then he talked about the drum major instinct. That was at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Then the next one, unfulfilled dreams, also at Ebenezer. Remaining awake through a great revolution. Great speech. That was in 1968, March 31st at New Cathedral in Washington, D.C. And then he said, then the last one, I've been to the mountaintop. Mason Temple Church of God in Christ in Memphis, Tennessee. But some great speeches, and I'll post that list up there so that you all can check it out. Let me read something to you. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad on March 19th, 1958, during a January 12th visit to address the Chicago Sunday Evening Club, Dr. King was approached about the possibility of speaking to followers of the Nation of Islam leader, Elijah Muhammad. It says, it is unclear with whom King spoke because although Muhammad's type name appears on this follow-up invitation, it was signed by 2 temple members. And on April 9th, Dr. King declined to address the group. But here's what was written to him according to our research. Now, I'm not going to give you all the research. We got a team that is digging into this stuff so that we can really help you to get it. Again, type in the chat for me, support the commemorative, support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. Purchase your commemorative Elijah coin. I see some of our experienced reps on here. You all should be blowing up this chat, telling folks to go out there and get their commemorative Elijah coin. Contact you. We must finish this museum. History matters. It is very important that we learn to go into these deep teachings and come out with a solution for our people. We can no longer allow pop culture and people who don't look like us to tell our story and to rewrite our story and change the narrative so that it supports their predatory agenda. Okay. So anyway, it was addressed to Dr. Martin Luther King, 725 Dorsey Street, Montgomery, Alabama. Dear Dr. King, being aware of your already expressed heavy speaking schedule, we are somewhat reluctant to seek from you a speaking date for the Muhammad Chicago Muslims. I like to dissect some of this because that means that they spoke to him already and he said he was busy. Okay, I'm gonna read that sentence again. Is that what y'all getting? Type in the chat, let me know. They said, being aware of your already expressed heavy speaking schedule, we are somewhat reluctant to seek from you a speaking date for the Muhammad Chicago Muslims. However, as per our conversation at Orchestra Hall after your speech, What is Man? That's another speech. So when you look at Martin Luther King talking about what is man, go and get the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's speeches and look in Message to the Black Man where he talks about what is man. Pull up what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, what is man, and use these collective bodies of information to discern the truth so that you're just not following what pop culture says you to do. Because pop culture tells you, pick a side, Martin or Malcolm, Tupac or Biggie. It's always a side. But you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to support all your people to the extent in which you desire to do so. And you should Move like a God so that you can extract truth no matter where it's coming from. Okay, because I always think about the story that our grandparents used to tell, how somebody come to your door, you don't know if that's God or not. You don't know how he's going to disguise himself. You don't know how the truth is going to come to you. But you treat people based on your experiences, and you have in your head how somebody should look who speaks a certain wisdom. But understand that God don't make no mistakes. I went through that. I'm still going through that, even with the development of this house museum. There's some of you out there that are saying, I just don't feel like it should be her. I had some people just say, why her? And Allah's laughing, because he know I didn't pick me, and he know he picked me. And he did what he wanted to do. And so our job is to just hear and obey. So there's something that Allah has chosen you for, that somebody is saying, why him? Why her? Who are you to tell God what that person should be, and how that person should look, and who that person should be? Who are you to tell God that? Who are you to define in your mind, with your finite wisdom, who God should choose for what assignments he puts out there? I'm just saying. Anyway, let me finish reading this letter. Let me start over, because I got diverted. I got distracted. Okay. Dear Dr. King, being aware of your already expressed heavy speaking schedule, we are somewhat reluctant to seek from you a speaking date for the Muhammad Chicago Muslims. However, as per our conversation at Orchestra Hall after your speech, What is Man?, we are hereby writing you to ascertain a date in March or April 1958 for your appearance before the Muslims of Chicago, and of course other citizens, in a free rally in our great Temple number 2 in Chicago's exclusive Hyde Park district. We suggest the earliest possible date in April, as that is the month of our many activities. We believe you hinted that you had never, in our conversation, appeared before a Muslim audience. In that case, we would be honored to be your first Muslim audience. Please be advised that we are prepared fully to assume any and all expense in connection with whatever date you are able to grant us at the time. If considered, we shall await your earliest reply, that we may give your coming ample publicity coverage. Elijah Muhammad, Messenger of Allah. And then it has CC down here, Sister Daisy X, Brother 10X, and signed by Brother William 10X, Sister Daisy X, Committees of Muhammad's Temple number 2, Chicago, Illinois. Shout out to those pioneers whose shoulders we stand on today. I tell you all should be gifting a pioneer one of these commemorative Elijah coins, because they understand the importance of taking the copper off of the house and creating coins to raise funds to complete this incredible museum. Okay. Then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on July 6th. Many of you have seen this letter. I posted it. A lot of people are posting it and passing it around. July 6, 1966, he wrote a letter, a very historical letter to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Southern Christian Leadership Conference, 320 Auburn, Northeast Atlanta, Georgia. Dear Sir, we have reached a crucial crossroad in the life of our people here in America. See how he starts that off? Since all of us who love our people are walking toward one goal, freedom, justice, and equality from the common enemy, let us realize that in unity there is strength. Let us come together in a meeting to discuss the future plans and programs needed to achieve these goals for our people. If we have any love and respect for each other, let us be intelligent about the matter and present to America and all the world a united black front. Type in the chat, a united black front. The destiny of 22 million black people is too important to allow disunity among us to prevent our achievement of a united front of black Americans. The meeting nor the place need not be public. Please let me have your answer within 10 days. Cordially, your brother, Elijah Muhammad, messenger of Allah. It looks like this was typed by Valora Najib, and it copies Mr. Roy Wilkins, Executive Secretary, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Mr. Whitney Young, Executive Director, National Urban League, Mr. Floyd E. McKissick, Congress of Racial Equality, Mr. Stokely Carmichael, Chairman, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. I just wanted to read those letters to you because there's so much wisdom and significance in those letters. I have one more thing here I want to read to you as we're talking about this. Type in the chat Black United Black Front, because that is so important. Make sure that you are helping us with the preservation and completion of this house museum. And our history matters. We are at a point where history during this period of the Great Migration between 1919 and 1975 is about to become extinct. Why? Because it was there where we are redlined. We were forced to live in certain neighborhoods. And remember, our history happens in everyday blocks, in everyday houses, on everyday blocks, in everyday neighborhoods. And as those neighborhoods are being destroyed and the properties are being sold through regentrification, the history is going away with it. I cannot tell you how much beautiful history I have learned since I started this project. And also let me know in the chat where y'all chiming in from too. And then if you're interested in a commemorative Elijah coin and you want one of our experienced reps to help you, say that in the chat. If not, just go to sajdahhouse.com. There's links all over. We got the commemorative Elijah coins and we got the graded coins. And we're looking for the people that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad dedicated his life to help us to finish it. We've already done the heavy lifting, right? It's a $4.5 million project. We only got about $900 and some thousand left to go. So the heavy lifting has been done. And so with your support, with each person buying one or two coins, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan encouraged us to do when he called me up at the believers meeting, let's do that. Okay. Again, like I said, excuse my appearance in this late night live. This is how I look when I'm researching and digging into stuff. But I was on the plane all day and I just spent a lot of time just studying and researching. Shout out, hey, Omaha, Nebraska. Shout out to my mom. It's her birthday. Actually, her birthday's yesterday. She and Dr. King share the same birthday, January 15th. So we went to just be with her and do a celebration. So I've been traveling. Thus, anyway, my late night casual appearance. But I just couldn't miss this opportunity because I was really full on the plane with just studying Dr. King, studying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, thinking about the incredible work that we've been doing to put in and put together this museum, how much I have started, how much I'm just in love with what we've started doing in terms of outlining exhibits, in terms of just presenting this living museum. Yeah, we do. Our history has been written in advance. But what's happening, listen, what the mind of Yaqub is doing is that the history that was written in advance, he's trying very hard to blind us to that history now. He's trying to change and rewrite that history that was written 50,000 years ago. So even though the history was written in advance and we're walking into that history, is there anything that says that history cannot be changed or blocked? Because These people in this world are working very hard to change that written history. They're working very hard to graft out that mindset of people that are going to be easy prey. They're doing things like changing the definition of a woman. You see, the minister comes out and talks to us as women about our value. He talks about it all the time, but recently he came out and spoke to us about our value. And then right after that, this was already in the works, but right after that, they start all this. We're redefining what a woman is. So now it's all over YouTube. And if you go to the Cambridge Dictionary, they've decided to change what a woman is. Why? Because if you were calibrated to what the minister said and you're not strong enough to hold on, or you have this mindset of kind of, you don't take a stance, you're kind of like, it's okay. This is what we do. This is what they do. But if you're not strong enough, now you begin to accept that decision, and then that seed is planted into you. It's just like, let me give you two examples. When you come into this knowledge, you come into these teachings, you start to learn the truth. You have to continue to feed that truth. You have to continue to study, because what you want is for your mind to be calibrated to those teachings, to that truth. When you go and listen to this speech with the link here on YouTube of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talking about his desire to meet with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and to qualify us, that speech, those words have a vibration. Those words have a certain way of calibrating you to them. And so you have to keep feeding that so you stay calibrated, because after you walk away, now you're walking into a world that tells you that a woman ain't what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan just told you that it was. And you start hearing that over and over and over again, and it's going to lower or adjust your vibration to that unless you come back and study. That's why we have to study every single day, because we live in a world where we're bombarded with all these subliminal messages that are contrary to the truth. Why? Contrary to the vibration that you receive as a result of studying the wisdom of these life-giving teachings, studying the wisdom of the truth. See, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that lies distort us. Lies dis-ease us, put us in a space of dis-ease. So you got the truth over here that vibrates at a certain level. And then you got lies down here that are designed to make you predators, designed by predatory capitalists who want your money. They want your influence. They want to be able to tell you what to do. They want to be able to just put a color on the screen. And when you see that color, they want you to be so programmed that you see that color that you know that you must follow certain instructions. And so what you're doing is we're fighting against spiritual warfare. We're fighting a spiritual war, and we're fighting against competition for our minds. I'll say it that way. So that is why these types of exhibits, like I told you, I went to Oakland this weekend and I saw this beautiful, beautiful exhibit on Angela Davis and the Black Panther Party. And the truth that was in there, and their approach, and what they wanted, and what their desires were, and how they struggled, and how they pushed, and how they met, and how they thought. I got calibrated. I got that. I saw a group of young people who were very tactical and strategic about trying to help our people on a holistic level. Free breakfast programs, so that the children can have food in their belly so they could go to school and not be stressed, and their brains wouldn't be focused on hunger, would be focused on learning. Clinics, so that people can come in. Let me tell you something about the Panthers and their clinics before I read this next thing. In Maryland, my business partner and I, we built the Minimally Invasive Vascular Center. We built clinics, and then we built surgery centers, and then we built a freestanding surgery center, and then ultimately a micro hospital. That was kind of the evolution of our trajectory through healthcare facilities. But because the Panthers pulled healthcare out of the big box companies and created clinics that were focused on our needs, who would hear us, who would approach us differently, we walked in that footstep and did what we did. The healthcare business model of the Black Panthers is still being used to this day. But you wouldn't know that unless you see great exhibits on the Panthers, or you go to museums like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum or Sajdah House. You won't know these things. But the Panthers took and popped healthcare out of the big box systems and created these small clinics. And to this day, that model is being used. If it weren't for them doing that, they started doing research on sickle cell and other diseases that impacted our community. And to this day, I know we did it. We focused on vascular disease. Why do we focus on vascular disease? Well, my business partner happened to be a cardiothoracic and vascular surgeon. But we focused on that because it's the #1 killer of Black people in the world. Cardiovascular disease, those risk factors associated with it. Hypertension, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, smoking. 90% of our patients smoke, both weed and cigarettes. 90% of our patients smoke. I could go into that. Even in our lessons, if you look in the problem book, our lessons talk about not being able to walk up the block. Well, in the world of vascular medicine, we call that intermittent claudication. Your circulation is so impacted, not only that you can't breathe to get up the block, but you can't walk up the block because you got so much pain in your legs. But this whole concept of this #1 killer, cardiovascular disease, is throughout our lessons. Anyway, but we won't know that unless we're open-minded and we study. And so shout out to the Black Panther community. We have here in our Chicagoland area, the Fred Hampton House over in Maywood. But when I was in Oakland, I was able to see that beautiful exhibit and how they put that together. There's a couple of other things. I won't read this because I don't ramble. But there's another post that I did where the minister is talking about Dr. King. You'll see that. But go and study, and I'll work on typing this up and posting these speeches, because these speeches can give you some categories, so that when you're doing your study, and this is how you break up your study, because this is what happens to me. I have so many things that I love studying. Right now, my phone is propped up on a stack of books that I'm studying. One is The Meaning of Mary Magdalene, and the other one is called Jesus the Christ. And so that's kind of my study. And so I study a little bit of it. I try to get up in the morning and study it. But you can go through these Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King speeches. You can take one of the speeches and read it, and then go and find a speech by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan with a similar title, and either read it and listen to it, and then just kind of go from there. Do your comparative analysis. That's very, very important. So anyway, I just wanted to say that happy birth anniversary to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We thank you on behalf of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House for your service, for your sacrifice. I tell you something else I have the eulogy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I think it's interesting when you tie in what the minister said, that's posted here on the page. When you look at these speeches and you look at the trajectory of his life, where he kind of went from theory to tactical and started to really tackle some big issues that some people say are what got him assassinated, the war on Vietnam and economic empowerment, specifically. But then the eulogy, in my opinion, reads like a PR statement. Like it says, yeah, we know all that, but this is how he's going to go down in history. And it's like the principles in that eulogy is what have been extracted and used to craft his energy or his image throughout history. And that's how it's going to go down. And I just think that's interesting. That's the kind of thing that we do not want to happen, and why the preservation of our history and the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum is so important. Because somebody will come along and package up his life, add in a bunch of lies, do some distortions, emphasize something that maybe wasn't supposed to be emphasized, and then make that go down throughout history. And then 50 years from now, that's how people will see him, because they won't be encouraged to go out and do some studying. All right. So I put here, I'm going to try one more time to post it here on Instagram, but they kept taking it down. So I have pinned here a link to a YouTube video of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speaking on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and his desire to meet with him, which is supported by these letters that I just read you and these invitations. And then he talks about the desire to qualify us, or the need to qualify us for leadership and representation, which I think is really, really super powerful. And when you come to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad living experience at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum, you're going to see some additional, probably never thought of or never even seen before, analysis on the two of them. So anyway, with that, family, please go out, purchase your commemorative Elijah coins, support the house. I'm going to let me put the Cash App here. If some of you are like, look, I just want to donate. This is the Cash App. You can just go there and, there we go. That's the Cash App. You can go out there and just make a donation. $100, $200, everything helps. This is a big project. We have a lot that is happening. This project is a whole world. It's a huge, huge project, from the research and the construction to just the daily maintenance and everything else that goes along with it. And I'm so honored to be in a position to have been chosen to lead this project. And I'm grateful to each and every one of you all who are in the chat, some of our experienced reps, some of our team members who have taken on the task to help and support and to become a part of this movement to preserve this great history in that great sacred space at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue. So anyway, with that, y'all, I know it's late. Peace and blessings. Make sure you go to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe to the page. It's the Sajdah Wendy Muhammad YouTube page. You can also find me on Instagram at Mo Today Universe. That's MOETODAY Universe. You can see me there. I see you all. Abdul Malik 2X, thank you. Gracious as God, thank you. Amina Hanan, thank you. Lockdown, welcome sis. I saw Sister Aletha on here earlier. I saw Sister Zakia on here earlier. You all been flowing with the chat and I couldn't keep up with it, so I apologize. Give me the greetings real quick just so that I can shout you out. I like feeling y'all's love. I like calibrating myself to your love. So give me the greetings on here, and before we go, we will go out to that love. I'm praying that each and every one of you are safe. I'm praying that you experience more love and more goodness. Thank you, Sister Aletha. Thank you for the hearts. I pray that you all receive more love and more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. I pray that you are abundant, that you're wealthy, both in knowledge and in finances. But most importantly, I pray that you have peace. Okay, Mr. Morgan, welcome. Walaikum salam. Gracious as God. Thank you, Sister Zakia. Okay, Mr. Morgan. But most importantly, I pray that you have peace, so that whatever comes into your life, that you have peace and knowledge and you're able to deal with it. Okay? But stay focused and keep yourself calibrated to these great teachings. That's important. All right, family. I'm going to sign off here. And I look forward to receiving and sending out your orders this week for your commemorative Elijah coin. Peace and blessings, family.